So one of the many uses of a tripod would be to put it in a car so you can drive safely and record a video. Today's topic would be very adequate to do from a car. You see, today's topic is racing games. Racing games have come and have been around for quite a long while now. We started off with the, well, not started off, but we had the Need for Speeds, the Burnouts, Flatouts, which haven't been talked about in quite a while now. Racing games have been around and have been a prominent figure that even Nintendo and other companies adapted them into their own franchises. Take, for example, the Crash series. Take the Mario series. Any series, any franchise, should it be big enough, has probably integrated into itself a racing game. But the question is, how many good racing games have there been? And what defines a good racing game? Is it its capabilities of being a realistic game, or is it just the general feel and enjoyment that you would get out of it? We're going to get into that into this video, so why don't you stick around and we'll find out together.
So, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's talk about the three main types of racing games. It's a spectrum, so games can fall somewhere in between that, but mainly we have three main games. You have the arcade games, you have the simulator games, and then right in the middle you have simcade games. Arcade games are the games that don't try to be realistic. They're just the games that are like, you know what, fuck it, race it, speed, have fun, who cares? Simulator games are quite the contrary. They're like, you know what, this is the realistic feel of driving a racing car. These are the technicalities. This is how complex it is. Go play it. Right, and people either get lost or get the hang of it. Simcade games are right in the middle. Simcade games give you a realistic-ish feel, but they don't go too deep into it to the point where it's inaccessible. So simcade games have a wider audience. That being said, if whether a racing game is realistic or not depends on the genre, then what makes a good racing game? Well, one word: enjoyability. Let me explain before you think about that being an obvious answer. A lot of racing games make one mistake. They're like, we don't want it to be too confusing or too hard, because then it'll be less accessible, so let's make it easier-ish, right? And what they end up doing is they make it too easy to the point where if you're in first place, chances are you can't ever fall down to second place. To make it any way, shape, or form more difficult, you'd have to really up the difficulty, which would seem like the plausible thing to do, but when you're playing on hard to get a challenging-ish feel, then you fucked up somewhere in the middle. Now that being said, there's that one main thing that makes racing games as big of a genre as they are, and as accessible as they are, and it is the accessibility. The thing about racing games is that anyone can play a racing game, and anyone has been playing a racing game. That's the main appeal of them, in my opinion. Let me explain why. Everyone at one point in their life has played Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man, which is the superior game. And we've all seen how easy that game is. You take out an analog stick, you go up, down, right, left, and that is it. No complicated mechanics, just that. And it's fun, it's fantastic. Racing games are essentially that. You have an analog stick to make you go left and right, but instead of going forwards and backwards with that stick, you have two separate buttons for those movements. Literally just that. I think I just compared Pac-Man to racing games, but I think I got my point across. It's simple. If you were to ask someone who doesn't play games, either someone who's older than you or someone who's the same age as you that doesn't play games, they will be able to play a racing game easily, but if they were to play, let's say, Call of Duty or any third-person or first-person shooter, they would be lost. We've all seen our parents struggle to walk forward and look around at the same time in games. We've all laughed at it, but it isn't that much of a natural thing. We, as people who play games, have gotten used to it over the time, but it's not that obvious of a movement. Racing games don't have you worry about that. They're just like move forward, backward, and turn with this stick, and don't worry about anything else. It's simple. It's accessible. That being said, if you were to not focus that much on just, purely just racing, you can go for the route that Flatout and Burnout and a lot of other games go for, which is complete and utter chaos. And what that means is they go for like, let's have a complete wreckfest in this game. And that's where Burnout came along. 90% of the footage in this video is probably going to be Burnout, because that is, like, Burnout is probably one of the best gaming franchises as racing goes, and Burnout Paradise is probably the best racing game out there. If not the best, then one of the best. It is just a complete wreckfest. It's mayhem. It's fantastic. Now, if you don't want to go on that route even, if you want to go just for complete nonsense, just driving around, power-ups, what have you, you have your Mario Karts, you have your Crash Team Racing, but I'm not even going to try to mention Sonic All-Star Racing at this point. Mario Kart has taken over that part of the industry, but it's fun. Anyone can play those games. Then you can go for the route of, you know what, just take this car, it's a hypercar, take it, drive it along this bit of the open world, and fucking have a good time. You can kind of wreck it, but not too much, and there are cops that follow you, so go. And then we had Need for Speed. It's fun generally, so you could go either way possible when it comes to racing games. The one thing that you have to focus on is the racing aspect and the driving feel. Something that I want to talk about. Because yes, the realistic and non-realistic is just based on the genre, but even then you have to ace certain things. If your car doesn't feel like a car, then you fucked up somewhere along the way. If it drives too clunkily, then you fucked up along the way. It is, maybe if you're going for an arcade feel, yes, it doesn't have to be realistic, but there are still some notes which you have to hit. Racing games, all in all, are a vast genre, madly accessible, and they're just so, like, given that it's one genre within gaming, it has such a wide array of types of games. It's like subgenres within that genre are so vast.
So, all in all, there are many shapes and forms for a racing game, and at the end of the day, it's a game. So some people will like it, some people will hate it, and it's just a matter of opinion, I suppose. Anyway, I'd like to see your comments on this video and your opinions on what I have to say. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you're enjoying my content. Twitter and Discord are in the description as always. And I'll see you guys in the next video. As always, stay safe. Peace.